going from being out on the trails all the time and going to these races and pacing and like doing all these, and then I was on the sidelines. It's so frustrating and difficult, but it's like a testament to being patient, which I'm not. So and the mud was so heavy and we just ran, like we didn't even talk. We were just like, let's just get down, and we ran as fast as we could. If you just kind of like give yourself a moment, don't call it ever, just give yourself a moment to try to reset it. You can, and like you may not get your A goal. Like I kind of had an A goal that would be finishing already at that point, but I had to let that go. He's like, let that go. And I was like, okay, that's fine. He's like, but you will finish. Like you just gotta do this major reset right now. Like just take this time. That's what we did, and then they kicked me out of the van and I got going again.
All right, welcome back to our Meet the Team podcast. It's your host. I'm Heidi Allen.
I'm Bryce Brooks.
And we have Maia Detmer on with us today. Thanks so much for joining us. We just wanted to go and dive into your Cocodona experience. You placed 11th this year, and it was kind of a unique race for you because you had just been coming back from a meniscus tear. Is that right?
That's correct.
And so kind of tell us what that was like. How long did you have for recovery? How did you tear it in the first place as well?
Okay, yeah. The last big race I had before Coco was all the way back in September. I ran Mogollon. Went well. Happy with that finish. And the next following month, we didn't really have too much plan. It's a perfect month to do rim to rim down in the Grand Canyon. And we went down and I was 18 miles in and I felt absolutely great. I was down there just with my boyfriend, Sam, and I just landed, didn't fall weird or anything. And I just heard and felt a pop and stopped in my tracks, like told him what happened. And he was like, try to walk. And I made one step and it was like immediate, like 10 out of 10 pain, and like found a rock to like sit on. And I'm like thinking, I'm 18 miles away from the South Rim. I'm like, what is that? Like 8 or 10 miles from the north. But if we went to the north, it's shorter. But then I'd have to take an Uber or trying to figure out how to get out of the canyon because like it hurt to walk. And so we ended up figuring out the best plan was to get out by myself, like with my poles and my 2 feet. So it was 18 miles. I had to go on this like freshly torn meniscus. And I started to notice that like downhills were severe pain, but then the inclines didn't hurt so much. And so I ended up like actually running out of the canyon on all the ups, and then I had to walk the downs, which was interesting. But yeah, so
I think I actually remember seeing you in the Grand Canyon because that was in October, right?
It was in October.
Okay, I guided 2 trips there, and I feel like I remember seeing you at Phantom Ranch, and I don't know if that was on your way up to the North Rim or on your way back.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But I was like, wait, I think that's Maia. I was just guiding a group of people, and I was like, I'm pretty sure.
We did stop at Phantom Ranch for the lemonade. Like you always have to stop for the lemonade. So we did do that on our way out. Yeah, it could have been. Definitely could have been. It was just the 2 of us.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, but then I immediately, like I knew that like I've gone through this before. I've had knee surgery in the past, and I knew that this wasn't anything light. I did want to sleep on it before I like started making on the phone calls for an MRI and doctor's appointments. And in the morning, it was like more swollen. It hurt to walk. So I just knew, and I got the MRI immediately, like the next week, like a couple days, and immediate doctor's appointment. And so November, it was like a couple days before Thanksgiving, I had meniscus repair and I was non-weight bearing. So I didn't start walking again. I was allowed toe touch the end of December, and basically it was Christmas Day. I was still wearing my hinge brace. I was finally starting to walk on it. And so by January, I was like walking without it. And I ended up going to Across the Years and I did the commentary on that. But that
Yep.
was like the first time I was like walking the most. And I was like, this is a lot of walking for
Oh
me.
man.
But yeah,
And
I,
that's crazy because, yeah, it's like January, you were just walking, and Cocodona is in May.
right.
So,
I didn't give myself a lot of time, but it was basically from go time, like the very first surgical, like the week of surgery. Every time I would put my foot down, like the circulation, I was so swollen, my foot would turn purple, and the pain was a lot. So I took it easy the first week, and then from that point, because I was locked straight in the hinge brace, I was like, I got to keep up. I have Coco. Like it may not happen, but I'm going to do everything I can with every other part of my body. So I had a stationary bike and I propped it on a chair and I would cycle with the other leg and I do hand weights as I'm going. I would do like floor positions, like doing hip stuff and like leg raises and upper body. I did everything I could, but work on the knee. And then once I started PT, I would do PT in the morning. Then I would go to PT. I told them my plan, and they were gung ho. They were so supportive and knew my intention, and so, but also being smart about it. And so they were receptive to my goal, but obviously safely. And they also agreed that a lot of these protocols that your ortho doc gives you post-op are for like the average Joe. It's not like for people who tend to work out almost every day and do these endurance races. Like we're used to, prolonged exercise, and they knew I can handle it. So yeah, it was a lot of work. I was out of work for 2 months. So I just used that as like a recovery training and focusing on like getting back as soon as possible.
what was like your mental state through that? So you're already signed up for Cocodona, you get the
Yeah.
injury, you get the MRI, you figure out it's torn, and then you realize that you have like maybe what was it like a 2 month before you were weight bearing on it ish.
Yeah. Yeah.
Was
It
there
was,
was there a
sorry.
point where you were like thinking that it was not in the cards?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't want to hold on to the position and then not let somebody else be able to race it, but I wanted to give myself a fighting chance,
Yep.
And so there was a 50K. That was the only race I did since September before Coco. It was a local race, and I had been training so hard, and I was kind of like, this is obviously like a blip of 250 miles, but I was like, I know how my body's going to hold up and when I push it hard. And it was pretty cool because Eder Ramirez, who came in
Yeah.
third overall, he was in first. I ended up coming in second overall. My knee felt amazing. My body felt strong. And I was like, as long as I keep up like my strength training and like everything I was doing in prep for Coco, I was like, I'm a go. So
I remember seeing that and I was like, that's amazing. Because you got a course record as well, right?
I did. Yeah.
Yeah, like incredible, like comeback race, it seems like. And I don't know. Also, like you 250, that's what was your longest distance race, right? You've never done a 200 before?
I've never, no. The longest I've ever ran was at Across the Years against, it was
Mm.
last year
Oh, the
with
last person.
that last person
Yeah.
standing. Like that's how McKnight and I became friends. Um, but yeah, that was the longest. Like on the course, it was like 136. So this was a huge bump up from, going to Coco. So
Yeah, and that's like going into the unknown distance while also dealing with an injury. Like that definitely attributes to like your mental fortitude to be like, nope, we're just pushing through this, like keep chipping away day by day. So
yeah,
that's
it
amazing.
was there were so many highs and lows, like I so much appreciate my boyfriend and my friends because they were so supportive, because I was just like going from being out on the trails all the time and going to these races and pacing and race, like doing all these. And then I was on the sidelines. Like it's so frustrating and difficult, but it's like a testament to being patient, which I'm not. So I don't
You
know.
So you mentioned you ran with Mike McKnight at Last Person Standing. Is that where you met Mike, or did you know Mike previous to that? Because I know you ended up pacing and crewing him out at Cocodona before you ran it, correct?
Yeah, no, that was the first time I met him. Like it
Got it.
was,
Sweet.
yeah, that was, and then it was just him and I out there for hours.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, no, I met him and then his wife, Sarah. They're my friend now. Like we're all friends now. Like Brittany, she ended up being my team mom at Coco this year. And yeah, no, we're all friends. Became friends with Ben Light, and
Yep.
Ben Light, we went over his house after the snowshoe race.
Yep.
And I was like, well, if you guys need a place for heat training. So Ben and Mike stayed with me last year before Coco. They were with me for like a week or whatever. And I like hosted them when we did like long runs every day. And yeah, it was a lot of fun. And then I went out, paced him with my boyfriend as well. He was another pacer. And then I paced him again at Tahoe 200. And this was my first exposure of it. I honestly never wanted to do this distance. And then I was like part of it, and I was like, oh, I bit the bug. Like
Yeah.
I understand. I do and I don't understand, but I'm like terrified, which also is exciting. So I was like, I want to be part of this.
Got it. So that was the catalyst.
Yeah, yeah. I
Got it.
blame them.
Yeah, it's their fault.
I had zero interest. I had zero interest in this, and then they introduced it to me, and I was like, oh. Okay.
So you said that Mike McKnight's wife Sarah was in your crew?
Not this year.
Oh,
No,
not this year.
I met all of them at across the years last year, but yeah, no, because even when he came this year for High Rocks, so they stayed with me. Like,
Oh yeah,
they're good people. I love them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's awesome. So who was in your crew for Cocodona, and how do you think that they helped you with your race this year?
Oh man. Yeah. So team mom Brittany, I had a couple people full time, and then there was a couple people that, because it's a lot to ask to, like basically Monday through Friday, potentially can you be there? And so Brittany was team mom. Sam was my boyfriend. He was crew chief and pacer. And then my friend Kendra, she was also full time. She was here. She was there with her boyfriend. And then I had two pacers. Carolyn, she came in and paced me from Fane Ranch. Got to experience all the mud going up through, and then the storm coming down to Jerome. Like that was the most. It was honestly, I was scared. It was a scary section for us. And then Wilman, he had a 36-mile section, spacing. Still got a little bit of that, but he finished in Sedona, so he had 36 miles leading into Sedona. So I had a good group of people. They were amazing. It honestly, this is such a big endeavor. I wouldn't even want to attempt this alone for the first go round, because I had so many unknowns, like sleep deprivation. Like I asked Mike and Ben, I'm like, what should my strategy be? And they gave me some suggestions, but you honestly don't know. So I didn't have like any spreadsheets of like, this is when I'm going to sleep. I didn't try to compare myself to anybody. Like I told them, don't tell me where any of the other girls are. Like I'm not racing them. I didn't ask until the very end, probably the last 30 or 40 miles. That's when I was like, okay, like I'm good. Like we're gonna, like, there was a couple moments where I kind of questioned, because you just don't know where your body's going to do at these distances. And I was having some major issues at various points. But they were amazing with forcing the food, telling me when to sleep, telling me to kick me out of the van, get me out, so yeah.
Were you at all prepared for the rain this year, or like how did you deal with the weather?
Yeah, especially coming from Vegas.
Yeah.
Yeah, I heat trained. Yeah, I was I heat trained. I was in the sauna. I was running outside with like my pack being like 11 to 15 pounds, like in the heat. And Yeah, I was really ready for the heat. I don't do as well in the cold, just because we just not really that used to it. And I didn't know that a factor with some waterproof jackets is that they become not waterproof anymore. Like the waterproof jacket, like if you keep washing it, like the lining of
Oh
it
yeah, yeah.
actually is no long. I never knew that.
Mm.
Like I've had multiple rain jackets, and this one I guess I washed too much, and so like it was sprinkling as we were heading up Mingus and as we were descending, and then as it started getting steep down, like the rain started getting heavier. Like
Yeah.
I had pants, I had waterproof pants, I had long sleeve puffy jacket, my rain jacket, and I was like feeling like I was getting saturated and I was getting
Yeah.
more cold. And I was like telling my pacer, Carolyn, at that point, I was like, everything's wet. Like I can't, like I'm shivering, and like undiagnosed, I think I have Raynaud's. Like I just like my fingers were turning white and I like couldn't use my hands, And so like the last, I would probably the last like 17 miles, I would say like maybe the last 8 miles of that section, I didn't eat or drink anything because
Yeah.
I didn't have function of my hands.
Yeah,
And
that's
the mud
scary.
was so heavy and we just ran, like we didn't even talk. We were just like, let's just get down. And we ran as fast as we could, because we were like, if I slowed down, like the shivering would get worse. And I like already didn't have any function of my hands, And so like we got through that but that was like the coldest I had ever been. I probably like ever. So that was a little scary. Like that's why I say it's scary because I don't think I've ever been that cold. And yeah, we got into the van and my team stripped me down, like got everything off of me. They like put me in the sleeping bag, like layered up. Sam laid on top of me, used his heat, which he was fine with. I was fine with too. But gave me hot tea, they gave me hot soup, and they said it took like an hour to stop shivering. Like
Yeah.
it took a while. Like that stop. I think I was there for like 6 hours.
In Jerome.
Yeah, it was like
Yeah.
a really long stop because it was damage control.
Right.
Like I was still ready to go back out. Like with the idea of like I'm not done with this race. Like I never bowed out of it, but it was like I haven't eaten for hours. I'm so cold. Like it was a tough rebound.
Was
But
that? Would you say it was like the lowest mental point for you for the entirety of the race?
no, it wasn't. It wasn't even like a low as far as like, am I going to finish this? It wasn't like anything like that. It was more like I knew that I was behind, like because
Yeah.
I hadn't peed for a while, and I knew like the energy levels and like the shivering was also like burning calories that I
Right.
wasn't eating. I never thought at that point I wasn't going to finish, but it was just like I think the lowest was it was between kind of like Kelly Canyon and getting to Tuttle.
Yeah. Is that a pacer list section?
No, I
Oh,
It's
that's
after
months.
that, I
Okay.
it's
think.
after. So it's from Tuttle to the next.
To Walnut,
I went
yeah.
pacerless, but no, that section instead of like the normal issue that runners have, the runner gut with like diarrhea, I felt like I had an ileus. I felt like my gut stopped moving.
Yeah.
So I had like distension, I had bloating, like Mike's gut from last year. I felt like I had a very pregnant belly. I had sharp abdominal pain. I hadn't pooped in a while too, and then I was like dry heaving, and like nothing would come out. So it was like nothing either way, and it was just the pain was so bad in my stomach that it hurt. Like it hurt so bad I couldn't run on it, and I was like trying to move. I would just be holding it. I was like holding it like this coming in the Tuttle, and then Mike had already finished at that point, so he was actually there checking on me, checking on other athletes, I'm sure. But he was there, Ben was there, and they kind of like talked me through. And he was like, "You have so much time," because like that was a low moment because I was just like, "How can I run? This is like 214 miles. Like I
Yeah.
still have to get to, like, we knew it's more than 250, you know, like I was like, I have so far to go. And he's like, you probably have palate fatigue, like stop eating your stuff. He's, you know, and so we completely changed my electrolytes. I got different food. Like he gave me chili, which I was like,
Yeah.
is that a good idea? But I hadn't pooped, so it was actually a great idea. Yeah, so, and I slept, and like the sleep, like it's just like there's so much time at these races that you, if you just kind of like give yourself a moment, don't call it ever, just give yourself a moment to try to reset it. You can, and like you may not get your A goal. Like I kind of had an A goal that would be finishing already at that point,
Mm-hmm.
but I had to let that go. He's like, let that go. And I was like, okay, that's fine. He's like, but you will finish. Like, you just got to do this major reset right now. Like, just take this time. So
Yeah.
that's what we did, you know. And then they kicked me out of the van and I got going again.
That's a good crew right there.
It's hard to get going. That was like a major thing. Like, there's so many unknowns before that, like, now that I know, and I feel like with my finish time, I could better that. Like, this isn't one of those like I did this and I'm never doing it again. It actually like fueled my fire that I want to do more of these 200 plus.
Good. I was just going to ask that if like this experience motivated you to want to do it again and more other 200s, or if you were like, nope, never again.
Yeah, I started racing back in 2014. My first ultra was in 2014, and then like the very next year I got into stage racing. The 200s didn't exist, and I feel like if they did when I first started running, I would have done them then. Like I'm okay, like, but that's the thing though. Like, so I'm just introduced to it this year, and I like the multi-day. Like that was my, like I did Grand to Grand back in 2015.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
like I think
Yeah.
my third ultra or fourth. I honestly don't remember. But I like that multi-day. Like that was 7 days. You know, you carry all your food and your gear. Like my pack was like, I think it was like 20 pounds, you know, with everything. But yeah, it was I like this, but yeah, also having a team.
Yeah. Right. You mentioned your first race in 2014. I believe it was in Mississippi, a 50 miler. Is that correct?
It was, yeah, Mississippi 50. I was not living anywhere near there.
Yeah. I was like, I didn't.
How'd you find it? Yeah. What was the
What made you?
inspiration?
Yeah, so I started in like road running. Like I was like one of those like Ragnar. Like I got all
Oh,
into
nice.
like Ragnars, and but they were never long enough because you're sharing the miles. Like one of the years I did like 9 Ragnars, and then they like started with the ultra Ragnars, and so then we like cut it from like 12 people to 6 people, and I was like, these are fun. And then one of the people in that group was like, oh, hey, I'm like from Mississippi, if we want to go do this race we can stay at my parents' house. And so there was like 3 of these girls, and this guy named Scott. We all did this race in Mississippi. We actually did it together. Like we did the
Oh,
entire
cool.
thing. Yeah, me and these 2 other girls, we did the entire thing together. And like we finished that, and it was muddy. Nothing like the terrain. Like I signed up for that race, never even had done a full marathon yet because we were just doing Ragnar's. Like the longest I was like a half marathon person. And in the training for that, I did a couple full marys, and yeah, then I did the 50 miler, and I was like, oh,
Gotcha.
this is kind of, this is cool. This is like long. It was a lot of things I hadn't dealt with because the races didn't go that long,
Right.
you know? Plus the travel. Like I had never been to Mississippi. It was unique.
Yeah, totally.
What about the long distances are enticing to you? Is it just like being outside? Is it the challenge it presents?
I think it's kind of like the same kind of concepts, ideas that why I like trauma nursing too. Like I chose trauma initially because it sounded the scariest when I was in nursing school. Like I was like, plus I like ortho, like broken bone, like none of that stuff like scares me. But it sounded scary. It sounded like fast pace and like just like adrenaline and, and once I got into trauma, I realized it's like a living puzzle. Like it's always moving pieces, and me adding certain medications and me like adjusting things, micro adjustments make a difference. You'll see something from the beginning of your shift to the end, better or worse, And ultras, it's kind of the same thing, like you're having a trouble and it's like micromanaging problems as they're developing, like you start having hip pain, like maybe adjust your gait, you're having stomach issues, maybe adjust this, and yeah, it's that and like pushing yourself, like I feel like there's so much that um, we're just very comfortable, and it's getting out there and seeing what your limits are. It's always a little scary, but it's also exciting with that. So you just don't know. Like you think it's a limit, and then you prove yourself that it's not your limit, and you can go farther or push it longer. It's just always so interesting. The body's amazing.
It's so interesting. Like, you wouldn't on first glance think that they would really play off each other, trauma nursing and ultras, but then like you dig in deeper and you even mentioned like you're doing like 12-hour shifts regularly and you get like time on feet, like for 12 hours is a lot more than probably most people are walking during a day on top of training. I think it's a pretty cool parallel.
It's yeah, like I have always my Garmin on me, and usual is minimum 3 miles, like in a unit. Like if the unit's not even that big, and I'm like always on my feet, so a minimum 3 miles, and like that's just the minimum. And I'm
Dude,
lifting people that
yeah.
are, the average American. Like it's multiple people like lifting and pulling, but we're training people every 2 hours. Like it's like just a lot of physical work, not just physical and mental. So, time on feet, yeah.
Is it hard to balance training with that?
It is. It
Yeah.
is. Yeah. Like, especially, I'm now in the master's division. It was a lot easier, I would say, in my 30s and in my 20s. But 40s, I would say, is getting more difficult trying to keep the mileage and my shifts.
Yeah.
So, like, kind of at this point, I give myself a pass. Like, if it's a work day, I usually, unless the race is coming closer, like, I was working out on work days. So, I would work out before or after.
Mhm.
But if there's nothing pending anytime soon, I don't work out on work days. It's already a workout, And so I have to do heavier loads 4 other days because there's 3 hour shifts or 3 days, 12-hour shifts. And so
Yeah,
I have
got it.
4 days off usually. So I'll just do like all of my workouts on those 4 days.
And just increase mileage, duration. Yeah, makes
Yeah, I'll do
sense.
2 days usually. I'll do something like in the morning and then the afternoon, and then like a strength workout in the afternoon also.
Yeah.
So, and that was like a big thing too, like especially with like Coco, and being post-op, was I've never done so much strength training. Like that was a huge thing. Like before I just ran, I was like, I just got to get the miles, got to get the miles. But I'm like, the strength training's made a huge difference. And
Yeah, you're seeing the benefits.
huge difference. Yeah. Oh, 100%.
Do you
You
think that do you think that changes up like your training moving forward now? Do you think you'll add a lot more strength training into your current training plan?
oh, 100% forever. Like just for, even for nursing, because it's like we're lifting and turning and all these things. And like I'm using my back. Like it's just to not get injured at both ultras and at work.
Right.
Like you have to stay strong, like your core, your back, like you're like lifting, like proper mechanics.
Right.
Yeah.
How has the transition post Cocodona back to work been? Because I hear from you, from everybody, like there's a level of brain fog that'll continue. There's a level of physical exhaustion that'll continue for a month, if not more. So how has transition back to normal life been for you?
This has been the most prolonged chronic lethargy, I would say, I've ever experienced. Like I've been back out running and I got a couple summits in our local mountains, but it wasn't until this past weekend when we did like Charlie, which is like just shy of 12K, and Griffith. And it was like the first run I honestly felt back to normal. Like my heart rate wasn't like shooting up and like going running for a while and I need to take a walk break. Like it's literally taken almost a month, like, which is pretty wild.
Yeah.
Like the first 2 weeks, I was just drinking so much caffeine just to stay awake. And then I would do a couple things and I'm like, oh my God, I take a nap. You know, do a couple things and then I got to take a nap. And like it felt like also like expressive aphasia. Like I was having difficulty finding words, like even talking. Like I'm like, these are common words and I can't even think of people's names, what I'm even trying to say, you know, like these basic common things. And I'm like, oh my God, I almost feel like a little brain damage.
So I can't imagine that many people at your work are also doing ultra running. So what do they think of like you doing Cocodona and then, you know, being back at work? Are they like pretty flexible with like, oh yeah, like helping you get back into the swing of things, or how are they thinking about it?
I think initially, like their mind was blown away. Like, cause before I left, we had like a birthday celebration for me. Cause Cocodona started on my birthday, and I have such a fun birthday. Cinco de Maia.
Yeah.
Your party hat was so good. That was so cool. It had the sombrero like pinned onto the hood. Like that was outstanding.
Oh, that's epic.
Every birthday, I get a new birthday sombrero.
Nice.
Every birthday. So that was the Coco year. But yeah, so we had like a potluck or whatever, and I posted all the details for this race, like the YouTube channel, the live tracking. And so they were actually, this is one of the first times they've ever been able to see what I do and follow my little dot and stuff like that. And so then coming back, it was a lot of fun to actually, these people don't run, to like them have more in-depth questions other than them reactive than like, oh, you're crazy. You know, they actually had like questions other than just why.
Because I got to see it all unfold.
That's awesome.
One question I had was, it looked like you finished with like your whole crew. When you were finishing Cocodona on the live stream, and I think there was like a social reel that captured a lot of it. What was that like running in, finishing the last couple miles with your crew? Like what were the emotions like there?
Well, so Sam, he paced me for like for a while, but yeah, it was just him. Like the rest.
Oh, was it?
Yeah,
Oh,
that was just other people pumped that I was coming in. Like
you had a crew though. I mean, like there was like a big group of people with you.
Yeah, I was like, come join me.
Oh, that's awesome.
No,
I didn't realize that.
I didn't know who any of those other people were.
That's so funny.
But like, yeah, my whole rest of the team, they were at the finish line on the other side, like waiting for me. But yeah, and then they had like the live feed there, so they watched all of that. Of me getting closer and coming in, but that was awesome. Yeah, honestly, like the course adjustment, instead of going up the 3 miles steep, like doing like the 11 miles, like took so long, and that by the time we got to the Eldon like summit, I was just so ready to run. Like I felt like we need to get this done. Like let's go. And I obviously have no concept of my pace at this point. What I think is fast is not fast, or who knows, whatever. But I felt like I was moving pretty swift, you know, and we basically ran all the way to the finish. Yeah, there was so it was amazing. It was, it took so long since Monday to get to that point.
Right.
It was like this moment I had been thinking about, trying not to think about it, because like
you gotta break it down. Yeah.
So far, yeah.
Yeah, like that entire week, it was just like broken down into sections, you know, like, oh, the first 37 miles and then the next 40 miles. And then it was like by pacers section, you know, and then it was just like, oh my God, I'm like finally almost done, you know, like it was It was amazing. I was so excited. It was so exciting. And then just the cheers, and like it was kind of an adjustment too with like all the live feed also, because they were there, like, and even at Camp Kippa there was a guy hanging out, and I was like, I have no idea if they even see me, but I'm gonna like be hanging out with them.
Hi, Mom.
Yeah, hi. Yeah, my mom, she's never seen what I do, and she was watching the live feed, so that was really exciting for my family because they've never seen this stuff.
That's what I think is really cool about the live stream is it does allow people who aren't able to come to the race, be involved and kind of understand what you're experiencing.
Right, right. And you're like a lot of it was like we were watching and then we went to bed and then we turned it back on. You guys were still running.
4 days in a row.
How are they still running?
Yeah, it was a lot of that. Like, and you were still running. Like, your blip moved more. You're like over here at this point, but like you're like, oh my gosh, yeah. It was amazing. I made a decision before the sign up happened that I was going to take next year off. And so, but I am still going to be there. I already messaged Mike, and so I'm going to be on his team.
Oh,
so,
cool.
Yeah, so we'll do another like supporting him pacing. I know he didn't have pacers this year, so we have to have that conversation on what he needs. But
Right.
But I definitely want to go back next year after that. So 27.
Yeah, that'd be a cool perspective. Being able to go back after running it, seeing it from a different point of view, which you already have done the crew and pacing side of it, but just to go back to it after having done it, I think that'd be cool and adds a little bit of insight to when you do it for next time. It's just like, just download all that information while you're out there.
Yeah, and better. I feel like there's so much I can improve on,
Mm-hmm.
now that I know. Yeah, it was so cool. It was so cool. Like just like checking off the sections and experiencing all the moments, shared miles, with various runners, like kind of leapfrogging with the same runners, the short conversations you have. And, there was like so many things like I thought would happen and then didn't really happen. Like I thought that my knee would be my biggest problem, and that was just the problem the first day. Like my knee was actually great from that point on. Like the stomach was a issue, but not the way it usually is. The sleep deprivation, like I thought I was gonna like opportunity to see really cool things. Like I've hallucinated in 100 milers before. And I was like, well, this one's going to be really long. Who knows what I'm going to see, And
What did you see some stuff?
Nothing exciting, unfortunately. Like I did see, I saw cars parked under trees that as I like stared longer and got closer, they weren't there. And I'm like trying to like justify in my head, like, well, what did I think? Why or whatever? And I'm like, well, maybe if there's a car parked under a tree, I'm thinking it's an aid station. So so it's like an oasis or something like that. But yeah, no, like I know Eder, he saw like animals everywhere. Like every rock and log was an animal. I'm like, well, you could take that as a good or a bad thing, I don't know.
He's just like
terrifying me a little bit,
I know, and I'm like, I better be careful what I'm asking for. There was another Vegas local that ran this a couple of years ago, and he said he saw dead people.
Oh, that's a scary one.
And I'm like, oh my God, I'm so glad that wasn't me.
Like keep it moving.
It's terrible.
Oh my goodness.
Do you have anything else on the horizon right now, Maya? Is there any other events that you got your eyes on, or are you just taking recovery right now and seeing how that plays out?
Yeah, I feel like my recovery is finally like I'm back to I'm like steady running. I'm not getting back into any fast stuff right now, but I'll be picking it up really soon. I have Never Summer 100K.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so I have that end of next month. And then my boyfriend Sam, he actually just signed up yesterday for Wyoming 100. So that's in August, I believe.
Yes.
And then there's a race in September. I haven't signed up yet, but I'm thinking about doing. So
which one?
The Hurricane.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, nice.
In St. George area? Or
No, it's in West Virginia.
oh, West Virginia.
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah,
All
so
right.
I don't know. I'm working on that one. But
Okay.
and then I do want to actually, I haven't told you guys yet, but I want to do the last person standing again.
Yeah.
Oh, let's go.
So I
Nice.
want to come back for it, get the W.
At a different venue this time.
Yeah, I haven't experienced this one.
Yeah. You commentated at it though this year, right?
I
So
did. I was
yeah, you
limited
kind of
on.
got a little like you got to hear everyone's experience, but you'll get to actually experience it for yourself.
Yeah, I'm pumped. I love that race. Like it's, I like the mountainous races, but then like that race is also just a fun like party vibe, seeing the same people.
Totally.
I've either raced or been there like the last, I don't know, 3 or 4 years out of the 5. So yeah,
It's a unique, fun one for
it is.
sure.
Yeah.
Well, awesome. I think before we wrap up, because I know we're kind of getting to the end of our time, I just like to ask some rapid fire questions kind of about your preferences, like when it comes to running shoes. You can keep these answers as short as you'd like, or you can expound on them a little bit. So we'll just start off. What is your favorite running shoe to wear?
So my tried and true has always been the Ultra Olympus.
Mm-hmm.
I started the race in that, and then my feet started to swell, and so I went a size up, which I brought. And then my feet never wanted to be back in them again. So then I had my other alternate, which was the Mount to Coast.
Oh, yeah.
So I actually ran almost half the race in the road shoe.
Oh, wow.
So yeah.
That's cool.
And I had one blister. So
Not bad.
Amazing.
yeah, not bad.
I guess it's a good thing that a lot of Cocodona is dirt roads, so
Right.
it's not super technical.
Yeah. Like I was curious how it'd go like descending Eldon, because that section I was in the road shoe, but it was
just
yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
It's good. All right. What's your favorite race nutrition?
Well, another random factoid of me. Last year, I was diagnosed pre-diabetic, thanks to my Filipino genes, because I can't add more like exercise. I can't. You can, but I eat healthy, so I've adjusted my diet a lot. But paying attention to that now, I do a mix of like complex carb, simple carb when I'm like doing that also with the ratios of my proteins. So e-gels for the complex. I had a lot of the Striker bars, which have 50 grams in them. So that was really nice and kind of keep you satiated longer. They have the protein bars also, which has like 15 grams, which was good. And then I'll mix in the others, like the Morton. I try not to do too much of the maltodextrin, especially at cocoa, because it has the highest glycemic index, and just is probably shooting up my sugars higher than it needs to, and then you're going to have a plateau. So I try to hopefully keep it like that. So I know that was long-winded. Sorry.
No, that's good. I mean, a little more glimpses into you. So, and yeah, I can imagine how that would make like planning for a race even a little bit more difficult, because you have to get a little bit more complicated with your fueling strategies.
Yeah, it totally shocked me, because I'm like, how healthier can I be? Like, but it's like a part, like my mom's diet, she's type 2 diabetic. My brothers are pre-diabetic, but with the changes, I've seen it already, because you check your A1C, your hemoglobin A1C, and I was 6.2, which is just below diabetes. Like 6.4 is diabetic, and I'm down to 5.8. So I've made strides.
That's good.
Yeah, it's difficult because our sport is like, how many carbs can you hold down in an hour?
Especially these days. Like, it's just now everybody's high carb, and I hear
it is.
150 grams. Yeah, like all those memes you see. That's funny. Sorry. Anyways, so what? My last question is: if you could run with any runner, dead or alive, who would it be?
That's a hard one. I kind of want to say, so I would probably say I watch a lot of podcasts, and my intro into ultra running back in the day. I didn't know anyone local really that ran ultras. And so I learned everything from paperback books. And there was a lot of books that I read. And like one of them was Finding Ultra with Rich Roll. He
Oh
wrote
yeah.
that. Like there was
Yep.
Ultra Marathon Man, Dean Karnazes, Never Wipe Your Ass with a Squirrel. Like there's so many books. There's a lot of books and I read them all back in the day because anyways, I still watch his podcast, so Rich Roll podcast. So I would probably say him just because he's very in depth with the versatility of his people that he interviews. Like he last a couple weeks ago he interviewed David Roach, so we have like the athlete side, but then he also has scientists and doctors and people with cutting edge technology. So it's always very interesting and just versatile, And I like the background that he is an athlete. He's ran ultras. He was in the tri world,
Yeah.
recovering addict. So he's like a lot of introspection and self-help, self-work with that too. So yeah, I always feel like I'm walking away watching his stuff, like learning something new, which I really like those kind of podcasts.
All my experiences running with podcast hosts have always been very fun. It always turns into like an on the run podcast, and I feel like I'm in the podcast. I feel like I should be recording it. Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, I think that's all I have for you. Do you have any other questions you want to ask?
No, I mean, I'm just inspired what you were able to do out there, especially given the circumstances, and just awesome to get a finish. And I'm happy to hear that you're not like burnt out from the 200s. And excited for the next one and excited to see it ATY. And yeah.
Yeah, no, thank you. Yeah, it was, I'm definitely not burned out. Like I'm not like running to do the Triple Crown or anything like that.
Sure.
Like I think like right now I'm saying one a year. Like I want to do a 200 next year. I just don't know which one yet.
Nice.
That's a good approach. You don't want to just start cramming those in there. It's yeah, I think
maybe I will, honestly, who knows?
People do it. They do it well. So yeah, why not?
Yeah, go for it. Send it. Well, thank you so much, Maia. Appreciate having you on. And yeah, we'll look forward to seeing you at the next race.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Thanks, Maia.